A lot of people like to talk about the best US states for coasters, and ones like Pennsylvania, Ohio, Florida, and California are very common names to hear. Now, I can't really disagree with any of those, but in my opinion, one of the most underrated states for coasters is my home state, Missouri. With 3 major parks, one of which is my favorite in the whole country, this state is absolutely loaded with fantastic rides. Today, I'm going to count down my personal top 15 roller coasters in the Show Me state, so sit back and enjoy. Alright, let me establish 2 disclaimers super fast. 1, I have not ridden every coaster in the state, with the big one I'm missing being MAMBA. Because of this, it won't be included on the list, but I will throw it in where I expect it to place when I ride it next summer. Secondly, please don't hate me if I place your favorite coaster low. Okay, that's all. Starting off at number 15 to get the weak stuff out of the way, we have River King Mine Train at Six Flags St. Louis. This was my first coaster, so I do have some sentimental bias towards it, but it is also a fairly fun ride. While it's not too intense or special at all, it's a ride that I still enjoy, and the drop at the end is actually really enjoyable. Number 14 goes to THUNDERATION, the objectively better Missouri mine train. THUNDERATION is like what every mine train wants to be: fast, intense, and unique. The way this coaster rides along the terrain is actually super nice, and I really have enjoyed my rides on this coaster. With that said, it has grown a little strangely rough over the last few years, but I can look past that to the really solid layout and still have a great time. Number 13 is a ride I really need to get back on: Timberwolf at Worlds of Fun. Frankly, on my one ride on this coaster, I did not like it. The reason it's this high is because I believe that it could be a really fun ride. It just absolutely sucked when I was at Worlds of Fun. Since then, it has received all kinds of retracking and reprofiling, and now it's a coaster that I think I would really enjoy. Number 12 is PATRIOT, also at Worlds of Fun. Yet another coaster I'd love to re-ride, but this one I at least have fond memories of. While it doesn't stack up to the intensity of older or newer inverts, it still has a very fun, unique layout that doesn't really need that crazy intensity. With me being someone that is progressively liking positive forces less and less, I think PATRIOT may actually jump up in this ranking when I ride it again. This is a very fun coaster. Just missing the top 10 at number 11 is a bit of an unconventional fighter, but we have the Runaway Alpine Coaster. While it may not have the inversions, intensity, or literally anything that every other coaster on this list has, it makes up for it with single rider cars on a gorgeous hillside. I love Alpine coasters because they guarantee a zen ride every time, and it's a feeling that's just unmatched by a traditional coaster. This one also does actually feature some really fun laterals, so it's not entirely forceless. If you guys haven't done an Alpine coaster, this is a really good one to start with. I like it quite a lot. Starting off the top 10 where things get better real fast, we have American Thunder at Six Flags St. Louis. While I am in the party that finds this coaster a little bit worse than what people like Airtime Thrills say, it's still a really fun ride. In the back row and front row, it has some awesome airtime pops, with a few moments of fun laterals thrown in for good measure. Overall, I've always described this coaster as a very baseline GCI. It's far from the worst they've done, but it's also far from the best, leaving it somewhere nicely in the middle. Number 9 is once again a fast-paced coaster at Six Flags, this one being Batman. These coasters sure are everywhere, but it's for a reason. The intensity they bring to the table is unmatched by most other coasters, and the only reason this one doesn't rank higher for me is because personally I'm not a huge fan of positive forces. An edge seat ride on Batman has so much more though, with some absolutely mental whip going through the zero-G roll and corkscrews, along with the overbank. It may be a short ride and I may be insanely tired of them by the time I get to more parks, but for now, Batman is still a smooth, intense ride that does what it tries to do perfectly. Number 5 is a big change of pace, going to WILDFIRE at Silver Dollar City. WILDFIRE is a coaster that doesn't look impressive at all on paper, but it is so much fun. First off, the location. Being at Silver Dollar City is an absolute cheat code to beautiful settings, and WILDFIRE has the best of the bunch. Then there's the drop, a super long straight drop that also has a pre-drop for momentum, giving it some amazing floater. From there, none of the elements are super special aside from maybe the fun overbank, but it's nearly glossy smooth even after 21 years, and it is just such a fun coaster. Number 7 takes us right back to Six Flags, throwing another crazy intense coaster into the mix. This one is arguably the best shuttle coaster ever built, Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast. For most people, this is probably a top 5 coaster in the state, but with me not loving positives, I find it just a wee bit uncomfortable. With that said, I still love the feeling of a backwards launch. I love the weird moments of airtime you get on the snaps in and out of the inverted top hat, and hanging up on that spike in the front or back row is just an otherworldly experience. Mr. Freeze's brother in Texas just got flipped forward, so it will be interesting to see if the same happens in St. Louis. And if so, how will it change the ride experience? As it stands though, Mr. Freeze is a rush of intensity that no other coaster in the state can match. Only 2 coasters at Six Flags are left, and the first of the 2 will be the Boss. This massive CCI is without a doubt one of the most polarizing coasters on the planet, with people either loving it to death or hating it and wishing for its death, with really no in-between. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce the in-between. I find Boss to be an incredible ride for the first 10 seconds, and after that I love the elements and speed, but the roughness and lack of forces kinda kills it for me. Boss has great restraints and a crazy double down drop, but everything about the coaster screams GCI overhaul to me. If GCI could deliver the Ghost Rider treatment with some reprofiling, new trains, and general smoothing out of some elements, this could be a top tier wooden coaster. Basically, I think the Boss is solid as is, but a little work done to it could make it top 3 in the state. Six Flags St. Louis's final entry on the list starts off the top 5 with the classic Woody, Screamin' Eagle. It may just be the fact that this was my first big coaster, but I love Screamin' Eagle. I know not everyone does because my friends came off it saying it felt like being a living hacky sack, but I absolutely love flying through the trees with some decent airtime, plus I still find it relatively smooth for its age. There's a crazy ejector death drop in the back row in the middle of the ride, which is just plain awesome, and a night ride on Screamin' Eagle is so much fun with it being nearly pitch black throughout the whole ride. Screamin' Eagle will always be a personal favorite of mine. It has a charm to it that I've yet to find elsewhere. Number 4 is a coaster that once had me crying in fear, Powder Keg at Silver Dollar City. Of course I love this ride now, but my first ride was, an experience. I've heard Powder Keg described as a janky B&M hyper with an air launch, and honestly, that feels like the perfect explanation to me. The launch, while not the highest acceleration, is still super forceful and pushy. The top hat, if that's what you want to call it, has great airtime in the front and back, as does the following airtime hill. The turns are shaped pretty awkwardly, so they're super janky, but it's in such a fun way that you can't help but laugh. There's never any crazy positive forces, but that's perfect for my taste, so I just find this to be one of the most fun coasters around. Here at what I'm gonna call spot 3.5 is Mamba at Worlds of Fun. Like I said earlier, I haven't actually ridden Mamba, but leaving it off the list felt like a crime. While it may just look like a traditional Morgan Hyper, Mamba got its trim brakes turned down to nearly nothing this past season, leading to what is now an apparently insane, ejector-filled finale. I am very much so looking forward to getting a few rides in on Mamba this summer to judge it for myself, but here is where I expect it to sit. Number 3 is Worlds of Fun's magnum opus, Prowler. Prowler is a GCI Woody that seems to be the predecessor to Mystic Timbers at Kings Island if you just look at the layouts. Both rides are less traditional GCIs with more out and back layouts, giving a super unique experience. Prowler is a very hard coaster for me to rank, because same as Timberwolf, I rode this 8 years ago. I enjoyed it a lot back then, but as I was an 8-year-old, I don't really remember it. Thus, this spot is also a bit of a guess, as I've been told it's been running with some crazy ejector over the past few years, but I suppose I'll find out for myself this summer. Missouri has some great coasters as seen with the rest of this list, but I think most people will agree that nothing comes anywhere close to the top two. Both of these coasters are located at Silver Dollar City, but which one do I think is better? At number 2 I have Time Traveler, a Mack Rides extreme spinning coaster. Time Traveler is possibly the most purely fun coaster I have ever ridden, having my favorite airtime moment of any coaster I've ridden, plus 2 other crazy pops of ejector. The inversions are all so fun and unique when spinning, and generally I just love this coaster so much. It puts a huge smile on my face with every ride, it's glossy smooth, and just absolutely fantastic. With that said though, it still falls behind my number 1 coaster in Missouri, which just has to go to Outlaw Run. Outlaw Run is the best coaster I have ridden, even managing to find itself above monsters like Steel Vengeance and The Voyage. Every element on Outlaw Run hits so far beyond what it feels like it was intended to do, delivering either wild ejector, insane whip, crazy laterals, or some combination of all three. On my last visit to Silver Dollar City, I got 10 consecutive night rides on this beast of a coaster, which just confirmed that it's easily my favorite. Any other ride in the country is going to have a hard time topping Outlaw Run for me, which means it sits very comfortably at the top of the Missouri list. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you could do me a favor and like this video, that'd be great, but if not, it is what it is. I have more videos coming over the next few weeks, so stay tuned for those, but goodbye for now, and I'll see you next time.